Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, I want you to try something for me right now. Just take a second and look around. Seriously, wherever you are on the train, maybe grabbing coffee, even if you're in a pretty casual office right now, or just, scrolling online, what are people actually wearing?
Good question.
Chances are you're seeing a lot of what we now kind of affectionately call athleisure. It's not just like a passing fad, is it?
Not at all. It's everywhere.
It really is.
Right.
It feels like it's totally taken over our wardrobes. And honestly, for good reason. It's just comfortable and looks good.
That's the core appeal, definitely.
So on this deep dive, we're jumping right into this fascinating world of activewear, loungewear,
Yeah.
and that omnipresent athleisure.
Lots to unpack there.
Totally. Our mission today is really to cut through some of the confusion, unpack those definitions because they do get mixed up, explore the history, which is actually way more interesting than you might think.
Oh, absolutely. It goes back quite a way.
Right. And then we'll dissect the market. The sheer size of it is staggering.
Yeah.
And also touch on how sustainability is like reshaping its future.
Which is crucial.
Increasingly so, yes.
So yeah, we're here to give you that shortcut, that kind of insider understanding of this whole wardrobe revolution, what it is, where it popped up from, and ultimately why it actually matters to you.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we get into the market trends and the history bit, let's just clarify what we're even talking about. Because it feels like these terms, athleisure, activewear, loungewear, they get thrown around almost interchangeably, don't they?
They really do. All the time.
But our sources are pretty clear. There are actually some distinct lines, yeah. What are those key differences we should keep in mind?
Yeah, that's really the crucial starting point. Because, while they all definitely score high on the comfort scale, their actual core purpose, the design thinking behind them, even the fabrics they use, they're fundamentally different things.
Our source, 6 difference between athleisure, activewear, and loungewear clothing, does a great job laying these out really clearly.
Perfect. So where do we start? Athleisure, since that seems to be the big one.
Makes sense. Let's start with athleisure, because it's really the category that's kind of redefined the modern wardrobe, hasn't it?
Totally.
So at its heart, athleisure is basically a fusion, right? It blends athletic clothing and leisure clothing. So what that means is it's designed to be stylish enough that you can wear it for just everyday casual stuff.
Like meeting friends, running errands.
Exactly. But it's still functional enough that you could do some light physical activity in it. Think a gentle yoga class or a brisk walk.
Okay, so it's that blend.
Precisely. Its core purpose is all about seamlessly combining that comfort and style for daily life. That makes it incredibly versatile. You can wear it in multiple contexts without feeling out of place.
That versatility seems key.
It is. And design-wise, athleisure is definitely fashion-forward. It deliberately incorporates trendy elements, maybe sleek, modern cuts, sophisticated colors, sometimes bold patterns, or, those prominent brand logos everyone recognizes.
Right, the branding is often a big part of it.
It can be. The whole idea is about looking put together, looking chic, but while being totally comfortable, it gives off that effortless, kind of ready for anything vibe.
Yeah, like you could go to the gym, even if you're just grabbing lunch.
Exactly that vibe. And material-wise, it often uses performance fabrics, things like spandex, polyester, nylon, the same stuff you might find in serious workout gear.
Oh, okay. So that's where the ath part comes in.
Right. But, and this is key, these fabrics are typically engineered to be softer, maybe a bit plusher, and generally more comfortable for all-day wear, not just for peak performance during an intense workout.
Got it. So optimized for wearing longer.
Exactly. So you'll find yourself wearing athleisure for those casual outings, maybe working from home, huge driver there, travel, definitely, or those light activities like walking, gentle yoga, maybe a quick, not too sweaty gym session.
And examples would be?
Think stylish joggers, not your old baggy sweats, elevated hoodies, maybe leggings that look more like sleek pants, and those fashion sneakers that, could handle a light workout, but look just as good heading to brunch.
Right, that seamless transition piece.
That's the essence of it, looking good and feeling good without needing that wardrobe change between activities.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It really nails that modern need for versatility, doesn't it? Our lives are so blended now. But then how is that truly different from pure activewear? Because they sound like they use similar materials sometimes.
Ah, that's a vital distinction. And it comes down to primary purpose. Activewear, unlike athleisure, is clothing specifically and rigorously designed for intense physical activities, for demanding workouts.
Okay, so not for just looking sporty.
Exactly. Its core purpose is singular, really. It's uncompromising. Prioritize functionality and robust support during strenuous exercise. Performance is absolutely paramount. Everything else is secondary.
So the design reflects that.
Completely. The design characteristics of activewear are heavily focused on optimizing athletic output. So you're looking at features like advanced moisture wicking, pulling sweat away, fast, superior breathability to keep you cool, significant stretch for totally unrestricted movement, and high durability. It has to withstand tough activity and lots of washing.
Right. It needs to hold up.
It does. And the material composition is built entirely around these high-performance fabrics. They're specifically engineered for efficient sweat absorption and really rapid drying. Often they're highly technical blends, sometimes incorporating compression features to aid muscle support or recovery, or specialized mesh panels for ventilation. It's all about enhancing physical performance.
So purely functional materials.
Pretty much. So activewear is what you'd grab for serious gym workouts, competitive running, HIIT sessions, team sports like soccer or basketball. Basically any activity where you're really pushing your physical limits.
And examples here, more specific than leggings and tops.
Yeah, I think compression leggings designed specifically to aid circulation, specialized sports bras offering maximum impact support, technical tank tops engineered for airflow, running shorts maybe with built-in liners or special pockets, performance t-shirts made from those super technical, quick-dry fabrics.
Okay, so definitely gear you wouldn't just wear out casually unless you were coming straight from the gym.
Generally, yeah. Its function really dictates its form. It's built for purpose, not primarily for street style.
Got it. So activewear is for doing the activity, peak performance. Athleisure is for looking good while being comfy and maybe doing light activity. That's clear. And then at the totally opposite end, we have loungewear, which, let's be honest, is probably what quite a few of us are wearing right now tuning in.
Huh. Very likely. And loungewear sits squarely at that opposite end of the spectrum from activewear. And it's even distinct from athleisure in its pure focus. This is relaxed clothing primarily designed for maximum comfort, usually within your home or in very casual, very low-energy environments.
So comfort above literally everything else.
Absolutely everything. Its sole priority is comfort, often deliberately sacrificing structured fit, style elements, or any kind of performance features. Design-wise, loungewear is all about deliberately loose fits, plush, cozy textures, and usually a minimalist, unassuming look. It's about feeling totally unconstrained.
Makes sense. And the fabrics.
Typically, you're looking at naturally soft, really gentle fabrics. Things like cotton, fleece, jersey, maybe even cashmere blends if you're feeling fancy. They're chosen specifically for how they feel against the skin. Gentle, soft, cozy.
So not performance fabrics at all.
Generally not. Loungewear is best for staying home, sleeping, just unwinding after a long day, or those super casual settings like a lazy Sunday morning where comfort is the only goal.
Examples are pretty obvious here, right?
Yeah, classic pajamas, maybe an oversized soft t-shirt, unstructured sweatpants, the really soft floppy kind, and plush robes. Things you definitely not wear to a business meeting or, a serious workout. It just wouldn't make sense. It is comfort, pure and simple.
Okay, so wrapping up the definitions. Activewear for performance, loungewear for pure relaxation at home, and athleisure as that bridge, stylish, comfortable, versatile for light activity in everyday life. It really is about the intended function, isn't it? Even if they all feel comfy.
That's the perfect summary. Intended function is key.
What's really fascinating here, though, is how we even got to this point. How did our gym clothes become our coffee run clothes or work from home uniform, this kind of huge shift? It didn't just happen overnight, did it?
Oh, absolutely not. You're spot on. This isn't just some recent Instagram trend.
All right.
This evolution has a surprisingly deep history, actually stretching back much further than most people probably realize. Our fashion history sources really highlight this.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because it's not just a fleeting moment. It's like the end point of a long journey. Our sources show athleisure has this unexpectedly deep history, evolving from what used to just be called sportswear. Tell us about that journey, because it feels like it's about more than just clothes, right? It's about how life changed.
It absolutely is. What we call athleisure today really has its roots in, well, a century-long evolution of American sportswear specifically. The fashion history lesson source really brings this to life. If you rewind way back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the term sportswear originally meant something quite specific. It referred to interchangeable separates, think skirts, blouses, jackets that could be worn by both athletes and, importantly, by the spectators watching them.
So it wasn't just for playing the sport.
Not exclusively, no. And the rise of this whole category was a direct response to a massive societal shift. People, especially women, were starting to live more active lives. They were cycling, playing tennis, even dancing in nightclubs, driving cars.
Things that were impossible in corsets and long skirts.
Exactly. The restrictive fashions of the time just weren't practical or comfortable for these new activities. So there was this growing demand for clothes that offered more freedom of movement, more ease.
So necessity was the mother of invention, kind of.
In a way, yes. These early sportswear designs really broke the mold. They often used knits or jersey fabrics materials that were previously seen as like for underwear or very basic workwear, and they were designed with features that, quite daringly for the time, exposed arms and legs more freely.
And there were pioneers driving this.
Oh, definitely. You can point to key figures, like in Paris, Jean Patou. He's famously credited with creating the tennis skirt, which became iconic when the tennis star Suzanne Lenglen wore it at Wimbledon back in 1921.
Wow, 1921.
Yeah. Her choice, a sporty dress, cardigans, stockings, worn both on and off the court, was huge. It really influenced and popularized sportswear in Europe. And then across the pond in America, you had designers like Claire McCardell. In the 1940s, her signature pieces, bathing suits, day dresses, play suits, they were known for incredible functionality, soft construction, using utilitarian fabrics in new ways, revolutionary stuff for everyday wear, and you can see the direct line to the comfort and practicality of today's athleisure.
So function was becoming fashionable.
Exactly. And another American designer, Bonnie Cashin, she also championed practicality. She did innovative layering separates, put in big useful pockets, used practical closures. And then much later, I think the 1980s, Donna Curran came out with her hugely influential 7 Easy Pieces collection.
I remember that.
Right. It promoted this idea of a simple, interchangeable wardrobe to take a woman through her entire day. That concept is a clear precursor to the versatility and mix and match idea that's so central to athleisure now.
That's a really remarkable lineage. It's amazing how these designers, decades before athleisure was even a word, were already sensing this fundamental shift in how people, especially women, wanted to dress. It wasn't just about being comfy. It was about, like, freedom, efficiency, maybe rejecting super rigid formality.
You've nailed it. That's the core philosophy that athleisure now fully embodies.
So when did the actual word athleisure start popping up? And how did its meaning change to what we understand today? Because it sounds like the concept was brewing for a while.
It absolutely was. The term itself is a fascinating evolution. The first recorded use seems to be back in 1979 in a magazine called Nation's Business. But here's the catch. Back then, it was used to describe clothes and shoes designed to simply look athletic, not necessarily to perform athletically.
Ah, so just the aesthetic.
Exactly. Purely the look.
Right.
And then almost 20 years later, in 1997, Women's Wear Daily used it similarly, defining athleisure footwear as non-performance styles such as canvas or suede. So again, the early usage was all about appearing sporty, not the dual function we think of now.
Okay, so when did that shift happen? When did it become about both style and function?
The real arrival of that dual purpose idea, our modern understanding, came quite a bit later. It wasn't actually until 2016 that Merriam-Webster officially added athleisure to the dictionary.
2016, that recently.
Yep. And their definition captures the shift perfectly. Casual clothing designed to be worn both for exercising and for general use. That dictionary entry really marked the mainstream acceptance of its true dual functionality.
But journalists were probably onto it earlier.
Oh yeah, they were observing the trend building. Vogue, for instance, back in 1989 was already talking about a whole new category of athleisure dressing, implying it wasn't just for the gym. And then by 1994, Vogue was saying how the fitness revolution sent sports gear out of the gym, into the street, and onto the runway.
Wow. Gym to street to runway, that says it all.
It really does. That journalistic recognition showed how sportswear elements were becoming totally integrated into everyday fashion, breaking out of their original athletic box.
Okay, so it went from just looking sporty to actually being functional enough for sport, but stylish enough for life. That's a huge leap. But what really makes today's athleisure different from, say, Langland's tennis dress or McCardell's play suits? Is it just the mindset, or is there something more fundamental that really powered this explosion?
That's where the real game changer comes in. What truly sets today's athleisure apart from all those historical predecessors, and what really enabled its massive, pervasive growth, is undoubtedly advanced textile technology.
Ah, the fabrics themselves.
Absolutely. This is the fundamental difference. Think about the invention of Lycra spandex back in 1958. That wasn't just another fiber. It allowed designers to build inherent flexible stretch into fabrics. That meant comfort, form-fitting shapes, and freedom of movement that just weren't possible before. Garments could hold their shape but move with you.
Right, stretch is key.
It's huge. Then, later, in 1986, DuPont specifically introduced Doctrine for the athleisure market, marketing it as extremely soft, dry, and comfortable qualities, absolutely essential for clothes you wear all day, not just for an hour's workout.
So materials designed specifically for this crossover idea.
Exactly. And even more recently, think about innovations like Gore-Tex. That allows clothes to be both waterproof and breathable, but without necessarily looking like technical sports gear. It blurs those lines between performance and everyday wear even further, often in really sophisticated ways.
Yeah, you see that in jackets and things now.
Right. And this ongoing innovation in materials is absolutely critical. Textile scientists are constantly experimenting, developing fabrics that can do amazing things, wick sweat better, dry faster, regulate temperature, maybe even respond to your body's temperature. It's this marriage between innovation and design, as one source put it, that's central to athleisure success. It's not just that fashion decided to get comfortable, it's that cutting-edge technology-enabled clothing to offer both high-performance and effortless style simultaneously. That's what allowed it to truly integrate into our lives.
So what does all this mean for us today? It's clear comfort, function, versatility. They've been building for a long time in fashion, pushed by both lifestyle changes and amazing textile science. But the real explosion, the thing we see everywhere now, seems much more recent, tied to some really big shifts in how we live our daily lives, maybe.
You're absolutely right. The foundations were laid over decades, but the recent acceleration is undeniable and linked to very current forces.
So let's get into that. What does this all mean now? Why has athleisure, with this rich history and tech boost, become such an absolute powerhouse? In our closets, yes, but also in the global economy. What are the real driving forces behind this phenomenon today?
It really is a compelling mix of several powerful societal and lifestyle shifts all coming together, boosted by the innovation we just talked about. Sources like Athleisure Market to Grow and the overview from Investopedia paint a really clear, multi-layered picture.
Okay.
A massive driver is just the fundamental blurring of lines in our day-to-day lives, The traditional boundaries between work, leisure, fitness, they've become increasingly porous, almost dissolved for many people.
Especially with remote work.
Hugely influential, yes. Workout clothes aren't just for the gym anymore. They're worn seamlessly for running errands, meeting friends casually, travel, and, crucially, for working from home. This shift totally changed our daily dressing habits. Suddenly, having separate gym clothes felt way too limiting.
Yeah, why change 5 times a day?
Exactly. And that ties into another huge factor. Consumers are overwhelmingly prioritizing comfort and versatility in their clothes now. In our increasingly busy world, people value clothing that just works, that lets them move through their day without needing multiple outfit changes.
Makes total sense.
And that makes athleisure incredibly appealing across the board. Busy professionals, stay-at-home parents, students, even retirees. It's become the default go-to for so many different lifestyles.
So broad appeal.
Very broad. And alongside that, you have the big global rise of wellness culture, right? There's a much greater focus collectively on mental and physical health. More people are doing yoga, casual running, walking, cycling, even just daily stretching routines. Athleisure perfectly supports that mindset. It lets you be comfortable during those activities and stylish enough afterwards without a second thought.
It fits the wellness vibe.
It really does. And then you mentioned remote work, but even in-office work environments have changed dramatically. The move towards more relaxed workplace dress codes, plus the huge prevalence of hybrid models, has made athleisure acceptable, sometimes even preferred, in settings that used to be strictly business casual.
Yeah, you see stylish joggers or nice hoodies in offices now.
Absolutely. Things that were unthinkable maybe 10, 15 years ago. And finally, we really can't underestimate the power of influence. Public figures think high-profile athletes, celebrities when they're constantly seen wearing brands like Lululemon, Nike, Adidas out and about on social media.
It becomes aspirational.
Exactly. It acts as a huge endorsement, popularizes the look, and creates massive demand among people who want to emulate that style and kind of that lifestyle.
It really does feel like a perfect storm of factors converging. Our lives got busier, blended, more health-focused, work changed, and the clothes evolved to meet that demand. But beyond just being convenient for us, how big is this market really?
Yeah.
The numbers I've seen bandied about are just Mind-blowing.
They are, quite simply, immense. The economic scale of athleisure is staggering, and it really tells the story of how deeply ingrained it's become. According to the market data we looked at, the global athleisure market was valued at a colossal USD $358.3 billion in 2023.
Wow. 358 billion.
Billion. With a B, just to put that in perspective. That's bigger than the entire economy of many countries. And it's not like it's plateauing. It's projected to reach an astounding USD $832.8 billion by 2033.
Whoa. More than doubling in a decade.
Yep. That shows a really robust compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 8.8% projected from 2024 to 2033. This isn't just steady growth, it's sustained, powerful expansion. It tells us athleisure isn't a fleeting trend, it's a fundamental, probably permanent shift in how people buy and wear clothes.
Okay, that's massive globally.
Yeah.
Any specific regions leading the charge?
Definitely. North America was the dominant market in 2023, holding a significant 42.1% share. That translated to about USD $150.8 billion in revenue just from that one region.
Wow. Why North America specifically?
It's largely down to its really well-established wellness culture, you know? That intersection of fitness and style is deeply embedded there. Plus, consumers generally have higher disposable incomes, allowing more spending on premium athleisure brands, which further fuels the market.
Makes sense. And how has this impacted the broader clothing industry? Has it cannibalized other sectors?
It's actually been a primary, undeniable driver of growth for the whole apparel industry, especially when other segments were maybe struggling or flatlining. Go back to 2017, for example. Athleisure sales rose about 2%, hitting $48 billion, even while non-activewear sales actually decreased.
So it propped up the industry.
In many ways, yes. It showed this resilience, proving it's way more than just a niche. And for investors, athleisure provided some substantial gains, especially between 2017 and 2020. Companies like Lululemon, ticker LULU, saw huge stock rallies, became real market darlings.
Lululemon's growth was meteoric.
It was. But it's worth adding a note of caution there. That rapid rise also created potential downside risk. Some analysts pointed out that replicating those massive 10-bagger returns might be tough, given the already high valuations, like Lululemon hitting a $40 billion market cap back in October 2020, still much smaller than Nike's nearly $200 billion at the time.
So maybe the explosive growth phase has limits for some brands.
Potentially for investors seeking those huge multiples, yeah. But the overall market success is widespread. Look at Target, their own in-house sports line, just that one line, reportedly generated $1 billion in sales.
Billion from Target's line.
Yep. That just shows the massive mainstream appeal. It's not just a luxury play. It's become a staple for the average consumer, accessible across different price points.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yes.
$1 billion. It really hammers home how deeply athleisure is woven into everyday life now, from high-end stuff down to mass market. If we break down those huge market numbers further, what specific types of products or categories or consumer groups are really driving this? What does that tell us about what people are actually buying?
Yeah, looking at the detailed 2023 data from market.us gives us some really clear insights into those patterns and preferences. By product type, shirts and t-shirts were dominant. They held a massive 39.3% share.
Almost 40% just for shirts and tees. Why so high?
It really speaks to their versatility, right? They're the essential base layers, the kind of fundamental workhorses of the athleisure wardrobe. You can easily dress them up or down. It suggests that mastering these core everyday pieces is probably crucial for brands before they even think about more specialized items.
Okay, the basics are key. What about price points? Mass market versus premium.
In terms of category, mass products, so the widely accessible, more affordable athleisure absolutely dominated. They had a staggering 67.1% share.
Wow, over 2/3.
Yeah. It shows really broad consumer adoption, likely driven by that approachable pricing and just wide availability everywhere, both online and in big retail stores. While there's definitely a growing appetite for premium and even luxury athleisure, the mass market is clearly where the vast majority of the volume and consumer interaction happens.
And who's buying? Men.
Women. Looking at end users, women held the leading share in 2023 at 48.2%. This reflects that really strong, consistent demand for women's specific athleisure, tying right back into those health, wellness, and casual comfort trends we talked about. Women globally, and particularly in key markets like China, which we'll get to, are really investing heavily in this category.
Okay, nearly half the market is women's.
Mm-hmm.
And where are people buying this stuff? Online. Stores.
Distribution channels are interesting. Sporting goods retailers actually led the way with a 34.5% share. This shows they still have a really strong presence, lots of product availability, and maybe offer that specialized shopping experience people like for certain gear.
So traditional sports stores are still big players.
They are. But it's crucial to note that online platforms are playing an increasingly critical and definitely complementary role. E-commerce makes it super easy for people to browse, compare prices, find niche brands, and buy from home. It's very much an omni-channel market now. People buy across different channels.
This is truly immense. The scale, the growth, the way it cuts across different products and consumers.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. But, this massive growth, especially using all those synthetic performance fabrics we mentioned, it inevitably brings up big questions about the environmental impact, right?
Absolutely. It's impossible to talk about this scale without addressing the sustainability angle.
That huge market definitely has a flip side. As it exploded, so did the conversation, thankfully, about its environmental footprint. It feels like it's not enough anymore for clothes just to be comfy and look good. Consumers are really starting to demand sustainable options. How is the athleisure sector, which leans so heavily on those synthetic materials, actually responding to this?
Yeah, this is a super critical area, and our sources, particularly the Clean Hub blog, paint a pretty harsh picture of the fashion industry's overall burden, but they also highlight some really promising solutions and definite progress being made.
Okay, lay out the problem first. How bad is it?
Well, the fashion sector as a whole, and athleisure is a big part of it, is a real heavyweight when it comes to environmental impact. It's responsible for up to a staggering 10% of global carbon emissions. That's huge, mostly from energy-intensive production and global transportation.
10%, wow.
Yeah. And beyond emissions, it's the second largest consumer of water among all industries. Think dyeing processes, growing cotton. It's incredibly water intensive.
Second largest water user. That's massive.
It is. And then there's the waste crisis. The whole fast fashion model, which encourages buying lots of cheap clothes frequently, directly fuels this throwaway culture. Which leads to a statistic that's just shocking. The equivalent of one garbage truck full of clothes is dumped in a landfill or incinerated every single second.
Every second. That's almost unbelievable.
It's hard to even visualize.
Yeah.
And this problem gets worse when you look at activewear specifically, because for those performance properties, the stretch, the moisture wicking, it's still predominantly made from synthetic materials. Polyester, nylon, neoprene, polypropylene.
Plastics, basically.
Exactly. They're derived directly from crude oil, a fossil fuel. And the really big issue is they don't biodegrade for decades, sometimes centuries. Polyester alone made up about 52% of all fibers used in textiles back in 2020. So when these clothes get thrown out, they just sit there, contributing to long-lasting plastic pollution, shedding microplastics into our water. It's a massive, persistent problem.
Okay, that's a truly sobering picture. The emissions, the water, the plastic waste. It's deeply concerning. But you mentioned promising solutions earlier. What's actually pushing the industry towards greener practices, besides just feeling guilty? And what are the real, tangible innovations happening with materials and production?
Well, the primary driver, beyond maybe a growing corporate conscience, is definitely increasing consumer demand. Plus, there's a recognition of a major market opportunity here. A significant and growing number of consumers are now actively looking for eco-friendly clothing brands, specifically including activewear and gymwear.
So shoppers are voting with their wallets.
Increasingly, yes. This shift in consumer values is undeniably pushing brands towards more responsible, more transparent practices. It's not just about doing the right thing environmentally anymore. It's becoming a business necessity. And it's a lucrative opportunity, too. The sustainable athleisure market itself was projected around $94 billion in 2023, growing at a healthy CAGR of 8.7%.
So sustainability is its own growth market within athleisure.
Exactly. Brands that genuinely embrace it stand to not only reduce harm, but also gain significant market share and build really strong customer loyalty.
Okay, so what are these eco-friendly materials? What are the options?
We're seeing innovation on a few fronts. On one hand, there's a real resurgence in new developments in natural fibers. Organic cotton, for instance, is gaining ground because it uses way less water and pesticides than conventional cotton. Big difference. Then you have things like hemp, eucalyptus fibers, beechwood fibers. These are often fast-growing, need less water, and crucially, they're biodegradable. They offer soft, breathable alternatives to synthetics for certain applications.
Natural options sound great. But what about performance? Can they match synthetics for, like, Intense workouts?
That's the challenge sometimes. For those high performance needs the serious stretch, the super fast drying brands are increasingly turning to recycled synthetics. This is a huge area of growth. They're taking post-consumer waste, think plastic water bottles, discarded fishing nets, even fabric scraps from factory floors, and chemically or mechanically recycling them into high-quality polyester or nylon yarns.
So using waste plastic to make new clothes.
Precisely. Girlfriend Collective is a really well-known example. They make their leggings from, I think it's 79% recycled plastic bottles, RPT, and 21% spandex. And they're very transparent, stating each pair saves about 25 water bottles from landfill.
That's a tangible impact you can really understand, 25 bottles per legging. It makes the whole recycling thing feel very concrete.
It does. And they go further, using eco-friendly dyes, carefully treating their wastewater before disposal. It shows a deeper commitment. This use of recycled material is becoming much more common across the industry.
Okay, so materials are getting better, more natural fibers, recycled synthetics. But what about the rest of the process? Making the clothes, shipping them. Are brands looking at the whole supply chain?
Yes, absolutely. The leading brands understand it has to be holistic. That commitment to ethical manufacturing and a sustainable supply chain is becoming a baseline expectation. This involves all sorts of process innovations. We mentioned girlfriend's dyes and water treatment. Brands like Vuori are focused on drastically reducing plastic use across their entire supply chain, aiming for an 80% reduction, which is ambitious. They also emphasize ethical sourcing, only partnering with manufacturers who have clear, written environmental policies, ensuring things like local water impact are managed responsibly.
So holding suppliers accountable too.
Exactly. Certifications are also becoming really important as a way for consumers to verify claims. You see brands promoting standards like GOTS, the Global Organic Textile Standard for their factories, or achieving climate neutral or B Corp certifications like Movie by Mate does. These signal a third-party validation of their efforts.
Right, those labels help build trust.
They do. And then there's logistics. How do the clothes get to you? Brands like Gorilla Wear are implementing sustainable logistics using recyclable packaging, deliberately partnering with lower-emission courier services, optimizing shipping routes to cut down on transport emissions.
Even the shipping matters.
It all adds up. Corporate commitment goes further, too. Brands like Tala run their offices on 100% renewable energy, encourage staff to use public transport, embedding sustainability right into their company culture. And some, like Gangsby's, take it even further, actively reclaiming huge amounts of plastic waste and supporting broader community environmental projects, like planting mangroves or funding ocean plastic cleanup. It's becoming a much more comprehensive, multi-pronged approach across the entire life cycle.
This whole shift towards sustainability and athleisure is actually incredibly encouraging. It really feels like a powerful example of consumer demand combined with genuine innovation and corporate responsibility, driving real industry-wide change. It's happening.
It is happening, though there's still a long way to go, of course.
Of course. And speaking of consumer power and global trends shaping the market, let's zoom in on one specific massive market that's really showing us what's next for athleisure and has some really unique dynamics: China.
Ah, yes, China. It's absolutely pivotal and incredibly dynamic for athleisure. It's not just growing rapidly, it has really unique consumer behaviors and preferences that brands absolutely have to understand. The surge there, as the HKDCA source highlights, is fueled by this powerful mix of factors. Those changing lifestyles, from rapid urbanization, a growing cultural focus on well-being and health, and importantly, rising disposable incomes allowing more spending.
So similar drivers to the global trend, but maybe amplified.
Amplified, and with specific local nuances. Increased health consciousness is huge, but it's also boosted by the influence of big fitness events and the massive reach of social media key opinion leaders, or KOLs, in China. They have enormous sway. This creates this really potent environment for athleisure not just to grow, but also to innovate in specific ways.
And the scale there, is it comparable to North America yet?
It's catching up fast. The overall Chinese sportswear industry is growing at a CAGR over 9%. That's faster than the global average we mentioned. And within that, just look at yoga apparel. That segment alone is projected to hit USD $3 billion by 2028. That tells you something about the popularity of specific wellness activities driving purchases.
$3 billion just for yoga clothes.
Wow.
And who's driving that spending? You mentioned women globally. Is it the same in China?
Even more pronounced, actually. Our sources show women in China consistently outspend men by about 15–20% on sports and fitness-related stuff. This makes them an absolutely crucial target demographic for any athleisure brand wanting serious market share there.
Okay, so a huge, fast-growing market, heavily influenced by wellness trends and KOLs, with women as key consumers. So for brands trying to succeed there, whether they're global giants or local startups, really understanding how these consumers behave and what their specific preferences are must be absolutely critical. What do we know from surveys about the Chinese athleisure consumer? What makes them tick?
The survey insights are really revealing, giving a much more granular picture. Let's talk purchase frequency first. There's consistent engagement. A big chunk, 42.6%, buy athleisure every 3 to 6 months. Another 34.7% buy every 6 months.
So pretty regular purchases as part of their routine wardrobe update.
Exactly. It's not just a special occasion purchase. But here's a key characteristic. Chinese consumers show a noticeable degree of price sensitivity. The average spend is typically under USD 55 per purchase.
Interesting. Lower than maybe premium brands would like. Why is that?
It's partly due to the huge role of e-commerce there. It makes price comparison incredibly easy, almost instantaneous. Also, for some consumers, athleisure might still feel like a relatively new and trendy concept, so they might be a bit more cautious about splashing out on single items. However, there is also a growing demand for premium products, especially in the major cities like Shanghai or Beijing, where incomes are higher and brand status matters more.
So it's a bit divided. Price-conscious mass market, but also a growing premium segment.
Precisely. It's nuanced. Brands need strategies for both.
And where do they prefer to shop? You mentioned e-commerce is huge.
It is, but it's actually quite balanced. Physical brick-and-mortar stores are preferred by 62% of consumers, while e-commerce platforms are preferred by 61%.
Almost identical.
Yeah, it highlights the absolute necessity of having an integrated omnichannel strategy. You need both a strong online presence and appealing physical stores.
And what are the most important factors when they actually choose an item?
Comfort is king, absolutely paramount, cited by 74%. Price comes second at 61%. But right after that are design, which includes fabric feel and specific fit and brand influence. So they're balancing comfort, cost, aesthetics, and brand perception. It's a sophisticated consumer.
They want it all, basically. Comfort, price, style, brand.
Pretty much. And it's clear athleisure is deeply integrated into their lives. A huge 68.3% say they've adopted athleisure products into their daily routines, not just for sport. But here's a really notable point and a challenge for Western brands. There's a strong preference for domestic Chinese brands.
Really? How strong?
Quite strong. 69% of consumers surveyed said they prefer domestic brands, compared to only 27% preferring international brands.
Wow, that's a significant home field advantage. Why do you think that is?
It could be price, better understanding of local trends, national pride, or perhaps, as we'll see, domestic brands being quicker to tailor products specifically for Asian body types and preferences.
Okay, that makes sense. What about aesthetics? Any specific style preferences?
They tend to favor simple, modern designs, but often with bright, bold colors incorporated. And interestingly, there's a significant preference, 38%, for styles that are linked to professional sports. This suggests that even within athleisure, that inherent sense of functionality and performance credibility is really important. They want it to look like it could perform.
That preference for domestic brands is a huge insight, especially for global players. And the emphasis on function, even within the leisure part, is strong too. What specific types of sports clothes are most popular as athleisure outfits? You mentioned detailed expectations for fabric and fit. They sound incredibly discerning. What exactly are they looking for?
They really are incredibly discerning, and their expectations are quite specific. In terms of popular sports categories influencing athleisure choices, apparel related to ball games, think basketball style. Soccer jerseys adapted for casual wear is very popular at 61%. Running apparel and gear follows strongly at 40%. And then climbing or general outdoor sports gear at 33%. So it's a mix, reflecting diverse interests beyond just the gym.
Okay, a broad range of sports styles influencing the look. Now, tell me about those super specific expectations for fabric and fit.
Right. Functionality is key. Chinese consumers demand very high comfort, absolutely non-negotiable ease of movement. They look specifically for superior breathability, excellent moisture wicking, and fabrics that help regulate body temperature, keeping them comfy, whether active or not. Reduced friction is another specific point, no chafing.
Very practical concerns.
Very. Key fabric attributes they actively seek out are softness to the touch, noticeable elasticity for fit and shape retention, good moisture absorption, and quick dry capabilities. They want that second skin feel, but without unpleasant clinginess.
Okay, high demands on the fabric tech. What about the actual cut and fit?
Extremely precise expectations here, too. They prioritize a comfortable crotch design in leggings and pants. Moderate, flattering lengths for tops and bottoms are important. They often look for waist cinching or general slimming effects in the silhouette. And for things like sports bras or supportive tops, precise chest positioning that offers both the needed support and looks good aesthetically is crucial.
Wow, that's incredibly detailed. It really underscores how sophisticated and demanding the Chinese athleisure consumer is. They know exactly what they want from their clothes, down to the millimeter almost.
Absolutely. It's not just about buying a brand. It's about getting a product that performs and fits perfectly according to their very specific criteria.
So this raises a really important question. How do global giants like, say, Lululemon and these increasingly strong local players like Maya Active actually compete in such a dynamic, nuanced, and frankly demanding market? Especially given that strong preference for domestic brands and these super detailed functional needs, it sounds like a fascinating battleground.
It absolutely is a compelling case study. Global scale versus local agility and insight. Let's start with Lululemon, the established global premium player. They've clearly identified China as absolutely critical. Their goal is for China to become their second largest market globally by 2026. That's huge ambition. And they're backing it up with plans for 220 stores on the mainland.
220 stores, that's serious commitment. How's it going so far?
Pretty well, it seems. They entered mainland China back in 2016. By the end of 2023, they had 114 stores open. And their financials show strong momentum. They reported a big 53% revenue jump in China in the third quarter of fiscal 2023.
Okay, so they're definitely making inroads despite the preference for local brands. What's their strategy? How are they doing it?
Lululemon is largely sticking to its globally successful playbook. Their approach in China focuses heavily on creating these immersive customer experiences in their stores. They have highly knowledgeable staff educators, as they call them, who often share their own fitness journeys. They offer complimentary in-store yoga sessions and other community events, all built around their Living a Sweat Life motto.
So building that community aspect,
Right.
like they do elsewhere.
Exactly. It's core to their brand. They also actively engage with key opinion leaders, KOLs, especially influential yoga and fitness instructors, using their credibility to reach consumers. And they host these large-scale offline events like their annual Sweat Life Festival, which really helps build a strong, loyal community around the brand rather than just selling leggings.
And pricing. Are they maintaining their premium position?
Yes, definitely. Their pricing is relatively high, typically ranging from around USD 50 up to USD 120 or more per item. This positions them firmly in the premium segment, appealing to consumers who value that quality, the brand cachet, and that sense of belonging to the Lululemon community.
And how do they manage distribution? Direct control.
Yes, that's key to their model. Lululemon maintains strict control by managing all its sales channels directly their own stores, their own website. It's a pure direct-to-consumer D2C model. This ensures they deliver a consistent brand message and that premium customer experience across every single touch point.
Okay, so Lululemon is leveraging its global brand strength, premium positioning, community building, and direct control. Makes sense. Now, how does Maya Active, the local challenger, fight back against that? How do they differentiate themselves and compete effectively, especially tapping into that preference for domestic brands you mentioned?
Maya Active's strategy is really a masterclass in local responsiveness and tailored innovation. It was founded in Shanghai in 2016 by Lisa Wu and Mia Wang, and right from the start, their mission was explicitly to cater to Asian women. Their vision was about inspiring confidence and comfort through activewear designed specifically for them.
So laser focused on the local consumer from day one.
Exactly, and their growth has been impressive. They're hitting around USD 54.7 million in annual revenue. They started digitally first launching on Tmall, a huge Chinese e-commerce platform, in 2017 before strategically moving into physical stores, opening their first in Shanghai in 2019. They currently have about 40 stores and have aggressive plans for 100 more.
Wow, rapid physical expansion too.
Yeah. And a huge vote of confidence came in 2023 when they were acquired by Anta Sports, which is one of China's leading sportswear giants. That acquisition means significant investment and resources for their future growth.
Okay, so they have strong backing now. What are their key differentiators? How do they specifically appeal to Chinese women?
This is where they really shine. Maya Active focuses heavily on developing what they call body-addictive technological sports fabrics. But crucially, they've developed a unique pattern-making system that is explicitly tailored to the Asian physique.
Addressing those specific fit expectations we talked about.
Precisely. This ensures not just optimal comfort, but also a really flattering fit and superior performance for their target demographic. This focus on localized fit is a massive draw, directly addressing a potential gap left by global brands perhaps using more Western-centric sizing. They also hit a more accessible price point, averaging around USD 50 per product. This positions them perfectly for that large middle to high income segment of young, fashion-conscious women who still want value.
Tailored fit and better price strong combination. What about their branding and marketing?
They strongly emphasize a fashionable image, making sure their collections are very trend-aware. Their physical stores are designed with unique, often quite stylish themes. Many feature fabric labs where customers can actually touch, feel, and learn about their fabric innovations, engaging them on a deeper, more tactile level.
Smart, letting the product speak for itself.
Right? And like Lululemon, they're very active in community building, too, organizing things like the Maya Fun Club and even operating some high-end gyms. So they're matching that community approach, but with a distinctly local flavor. And crucially, they have absolutely mastered local digital marketing. They are all over platforms like Xiaohongshu, Little Red Book, and TikTok, encouraging and leveraging user-generated content, think outfit of the day or OTD posts. This resonates incredibly well with young Chinese consumers.
So really leveraging the local social media ecosystem.
Masterfully. And distribution-wise, while they're also primarily D2C focused, they show more flexibility than Lululemon, collaborating with various partners for their e-commerce channels. It's a slightly more nuanced, maybe more locally adapted distribution model.
It's a really fascinating contrast, isn't it? The global giant bringing its established premium, community-driven formula, maybe tweaking it slightly, and the local challenger coming in hyper-focused on tailored fit, accessible pricing, and just nailing the digital engagement within China's unique ecosystem.
Exactly. Maya Active's rapid rise really highlights that even when huge global players enter a market, a deep, precise understanding of local consumer needs everything from specific body shapes and cultural style preferences to price points, and how people use social media can lead to significant market penetration and real success.
It really shows that local agility and deep consumer insight can genuinely compete with, and sometimes maybe even outperform, sheer global scale. It's not just about having a famous brand name.
Absolutely. It proves that knowing your specific market intimately is key, especially in a place as dynamic and discerning as China. It's not just about what you sell, but how precisely you meet the unique demands and aspirations there.
Okay, so connecting this back to the bigger picture, it's crystal clear, athleisure isn't just some passing trend. It's deeply woven into our culture, our economy, our daily lives now. So looking ahead, where does it go next? What kind of exciting innovations or evolving trends or maybe market shifts can we expect to see defining the future of athleisure?
Yeah, it's definitely here to stay, but it's not static. Its future looks incredibly dynamic, very innovative. We're certainly going to see continued growth and ongoing evolution. Now, maybe that explosive double-digit growth we saw in the early years might naturally level off into a more sustainable, steady pace, but sales are absolutely expected to keep climbing upwards.
Still growing, just maybe not skyrocketing like before.
Exactly. And the trend is also broadening its reach significantly in terms of demographics. It's not just for hardcore fitness fans or millennials anymore. It's expanding to include more working professionals using it for comfort, students, diverse age groups, basically anyone seeking that blend of comfort, style, and practicality in their everyday lives.
So becoming even more mainstream. What about the tech side? You mentioned fabric innovation earlier. Is that going to continue?
Oh, absolutely. Technological innovation is probably one of the most exciting areas shaping the future. We're talking about the continued development of advanced smart textiles. Imagine fabrics with tiny sensors embedded right into the yarn.
Sensors in your clothes, what would they do?
They could track vital signs like your heart rate, maybe your body temperature, even muscle activity, or your movement patterns during exercise or just throughout the day. This essentially transforms clothing from just a passive covering into an interactive, wearable experience.
Wow, like a fitness tracker built into your shirt.
Exactly. And it aligns perfectly with that huge consumer interest in personal fitness, health tracking, and using technology for self-optimization. Beyond that, we'll just see relentless innovation in performance fabrics, generally materials that offer even better breathability, more advanced moisture control, greater flexibility, incredible durability, all while feeling even lighter on the skin.
Constantly improving the basics.
Right. And new manufacturing techniques are playing a role too. Things like 3D knitting or printing, seamless construction methods. These can improve athletic performance through more customized fits, but also often have environmental benefits like reducing fabric waste during production.
So tech helps performance and sustainability sometimes.
It can, and this whole vision integrates perfectly with the wider market for smart health gadgets, wearables, fitness trackers, which is projected to be enormous, something like $267 billion by 2023. Smart clothing, fitness tracking apparel will play an increasingly sophisticated part in that ecosystem.
That's a true fusion of fashion, tech, and personal health. It all sounds like our clothes might become our most intimate health monitors. Beyond the cool tech, how are the actual clothes themselves changing? Are the styles evolving? And what bigger market shifts might influence what we choose to buy?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing an evolution in the products themselves and some notable market shifts. Brands are working hard to attract new customers by offering a much more diverse range of styles than just, say, tight leggings and crop tops. We're seeing more development of looser, more tailored cuts, think stylish wide-leg pants made from performance fabrics, or more structured hoodies.
Things that look less like traditional gym wear.
Exactly. Styles that are much more acceptable, even appropriate, in professional or semi-formal settings. This really helps bridge that gap between workout gear and everyday or even business casual attire. And it appeals to a broader demographic, including maybe older generations who appreciate the comfort but don't necessarily want a super sporty look all the time. It shows the market is maturing, becoming more lifestyle integrated.
That makes sense. What about footwear?
Footwear is a huge indicator. Sneakers were projected to actually surpass traditional dress shoes as the largest footwear category in the US way back in 2021. That shift continues. It's not just about performance running shoes, it's the dominance of comfortable, versatile, active-inspired footwear over purely formal or purely performance-driven options.
So comfort and versatility are winning out everywhere.
Pretty much. And that demand for multifunctional clothing, those truly versatile pieces that can genuinely take you from a workout to errands to a casual dinner without looking out of place, that will continue to drive massive innovation. People crave clothing that simplifies their wardrobe and just works for their busy, blended lives.
And the rise of home workouts. Does that change things?
Definitely fuels demand, particularly for the more comfortable, casual, almost loungewear-inspired end of the athleisure spectrum. As more people use home fitness tech or virtual workout programs, they want clothes that are super comfy and flexible for those routines, which often blend exercise with just relaxing at home afterwards.
So, a continuously growing market, getting smarter with tech, more versatile in style. What does this mean for brands trying to navigate this? And are there any potential bumps in the road ahead?
For brands, the future holds immense opportunities, especially if they're agile and innovative. New players can still find significant growth in niche segments, maybe focusing deeply on sustainable materials, creating truly gender-neutral lines that cater to evolving identities, or designing specialized gear for growing activities like hiking or paddleboarding that weren't traditionally served by mainstream activewear.
So finding those underserved niches.
Exactly. And brands that genuinely commit to sustainable practices, really embracing eco-friendly materials like organic cotton, recycled polyester, Tencel, and ensuring ethical manufacturing, they are poised to gain substantial market share as consumers increasingly prioritize conscious consumption and demand transparency.
Sustainability is a competitive advantage.
Absolutely. And to reach consumers effectively, sophisticated e-commerce strategies and smart digital marketing are non-negotiable. Brands need to connect directly, build communities online, tell their story effectively.
But you mentioned potential bumps. What challenges lie ahead?
Well, one challenge is that athleisure is closely tied to fast-moving fashion trends. This can make it tricky for brands to stay relevant and build long-term loyalty. Consumers might jump quickly to the next aesthetic, so balancing timeless style with current trends while maintaining functionality is a constant juggling act.
Keeping up with fashion cycles.
Right. And the competition is fierce and growing. It's not just dedicated activewear brands anymore. You have established luxury fashion houses launching active lines, fast fashion retailers churning out cheap athleisure. Everyone wants a piece of this massive market. This makes it harder for the original athleisure-focused brands to maintain their premium positioning or carve out truly unique identities amidst all the noise.
So intense competition from all sides.
Very intense. But despite these challenges, the trend cycles, the competition, the overall outlook for athleisure remains incredibly strong.
Hmm.
Why? Because it's fundamentally driven by that unwavering consumer desire for comfort, for versatility, and increasingly for sustainability in the clothes they wear every single day. Those core drivers aren't going away.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening. It's shown just how much more there is to our comfy clothes than you might think at first glance. From that surprising history rooted in, like, societal liberation and practicality, to its enormous global economic impact, and now looking towards a future defined by smart tech and a real push for sustainability, athleisure is clearly not just here to stay, it's continuing to evolve right alongside us.
It really is a microcosm of broader societal shifts.
Absolutely. So just to recap, we've journeyed through those precise definitions that help us separate athleisure, activewear, and loungewear. We traced their fascinating history back way further than just the last decade. We explored the absolutely massive multi-billion-dollar global market they command. We shone a really crucial spotlight on the growing importance of sustainability in this sector, and we took that deep dive into the unique, competitive landscape of the Chinese market.
It's been quite a journey, covering a lot of ground, and the key takeaway, I think, is that this isn't just about clothing trends. It's a profound reflection of our changing lives, isn't it? Our constant search for convenience, our growing commitment to wellness, both physical and mental, and that increasing demand for clothes that just move with us, seamlessly transitioning through all the different parts of our dynamic days.
Beautifully put. It really is clothing that reflects modern life. So here's a final thought for you, our listener. Next time you reach for those comfy leggings or maybe those stylish joggers, just take a moment. Consider that century of evolution we talked about, the incredible textile innovations that make them feel so good, and the powerful global market forces that all converge to bring that specific item to your closet. And maybe ask yourself, what does your choice in athleisure today really say about your evolving lifestyle and your priorities right now?